By the end of this video, you will be able to understand how to exactly classify your emails automatically using AI. I'll even show you how to handle both your incoming emails as well as your past emails. This is the workflow you'll be getting at the end of this video. Once the execution is done, your emails will be labeled into 9 to 5, private, and garbage. Let me quickly explain what n8n actually is. n8n is powerful automation tool where you can build workflows and even agents that handle repetitive tasks for you. Think of it as a way to connect your apps and let them work together automatically. The best part? You can sign up for a free trial and try building workflows yourself without needing to install anything on your computer. So here in the dashboard, you can see all your workflows. Let's go ahead and create a new one now. Let's first rename the workflow to Gmail classifier. Well, Gmail is the only service I use, so the name fits. The workflow is successfully created. Now, as a first step, press on the plus button and add a Gmail trigger. Just search for Gmail. Once you press Gmail, you'll get a list of events over there. Add the event on message received. Now we are into Gmail trigger event. Then create a new credential. I have already created one and named it Gmail classifier. But for your understanding, I'll go through the process again. Choose OAuth 2, click sign in with Google, choose your email account. n8n will need few permissions. Just read them and accept and continue. Once it says connection successful, it will go back to workflow. Rename the workflow as something like classifier and then save it. Rest of the parameters are kept as it is. Finally, fetch a test event so we can see an example email. Here it is. This is the last email received in my Gmail. Click on JSON for JSON preview. Here we get the JSON preview of the email. Now back to Canvas. Right now we are only seeing a snippet of the mail. To get the full message, we'll add another Gmail node. So type in Gmail and then select get a message as an event. Select your Gmail credential, the one you want to get message from. Resource is message, operation is get. We need to input the message ID. So we drag the ID from previous node, which was Gmail trigger, into the message ID field and turn simplify off. Then we execute the step and we get the email. So we saw the entire raw email, including the HTML body. Back to Canvas, we save the workflow if you don't want to lose your progress. So you can see green text here. That means the steps are executed successfully. We'll click on add and we'll add a code node. So emails contains a lot of HTML tags. We need to strip those HTML tags and just keep plain text. So we'll choose JavaScript as a language, and now we need to write a function in JavaScript which strips the email of all the tags. For that, we'll need a ChatGPT. So in ChatGPT, we'll write an n8n code node in JavaScript which receives HTML as a variable and outputs plain text. Now let the ChatGPT do its work. So we got a n8n code node here. We'll just copy the code and paste it in the code area. So just copy the node and then paste and execute step. Now we should get a plain text. It is executing. It's taking a lot of time, so we'll just stop the workflow. If it is already executed, we'll get the output. Workflow finished executing and now we got the output as a plain text. We will get into the code node. Here we have the text tag with the output as a plain text. So next step is to classify the email. For that, we'll use OpenAI node. So just type in OpenAI, choose messenger model, and once you get in, we'll create a new OpenAI credential. So just click on new credential, and to create a new credential, we'll need to go to platform.openai.com. Here type API keys. You need to create a new API key, or you can use the API key which you have already created. I'll honestly suggest creating a new API key because of the separation of concern. it is easier to track that way. Also, for key creation, you will need some credential in OpenAI. So I have just added $5. So once the key is created, you will need to grab the API key from OpenAI dashboard and paste it in the OpenAI credential page in n8n. As I already have my credentials added, I'm not creating a new one. So I'll add 2 messages. One is from system, another is from user. So I'll set a system message that is going to act as a prompt for the model. So I set it as you receive an email and it is your role to classify them into one of these models, into one of these categories. The 3 categories are 9 to 5, private, and garbage. 9 to 5 is anything involving work. Private is anything that is personal. And garbage is anything to do with newsletters, promotions, newsletters, or anything that is not applicable to me directly, and it is just a mass message or email. Output only one category. Output in JSON with the following structure, category, and then any of the 3 categories, and will output in only one category. Now in user message, we'll map in the plain text. So we'll type in plain text as a tag, HTML tag, and then we'll drag the text output from the previous node into user message. Make sure the text is within plain text tags. Output content as JSON. Now choose the model. I have selected O3 Mini as a model, which works best for me. Now it is executing. Again, sometimes n8n takes a lot of time. I stopped the execution, but we still got the output because it completed before I stopped the execution. Now that we have a category, let's apply it as a Gmail label. So we'll add label to message. Under label names, you get all the labels which are existing in your email right now. So we'll create the 3 tags, 3 labels, 9 to 5, private, and garbage. So now back to n8n, map the OpenAI category to the label field. In message ID, map the message ID of the Gmail message in the previous node. Now we execute this step. Here we have an error that the value private is not supported. For that, we'll get all the labels existing in your email. We'll add get many labels as a node in between messenger model and label a message. Here we choose return all, so we get all the labels from your emails. Again, it takes a lot of time to execute. I'll just stop the execution. We got all the labels which are there in your email. Here we got the private, we got the 9 to 5, and we got garbage. Now we'll get into the messenger model node. Here we'll write down the label ID against all the labels we have mentioned in the prompt, which makes it easier to classify your emails. To get the label ID, I'll go to the output from get many labels and copy the label ID from here and paste it in messenger model. Now, everywhere I have mentioned 9 to 5, I am going to mention the label ID. Now I go back and copy the label ID for private. And now I'll copy the label ID for garbage. Now in category, instead of mentioning the names, I'll just write down the label IDs. We'll now execute this step. So here in the output, we see now our email is categorized. Now we delete get many labels node because we have already got the accurate label IDs for our 3 categories. We don't need this step anymore. This was just to get the label IDs of the existing fields. Now getting into add label to message, we now execute this step. As we execute this step, we'll get the label IDs. You can see the label IDs mentioned as a category over there. And my email is labeled as private as it is addressing me directly. Now we run the workflow. It's running smoothly. And here it is a success. So now we are able to classify our email as private, 9 to 5 or garbage. But all these are incoming emails. Now how do we classify our past emails? For that, instead of using Gmail trigger, we'll use trigger manually. So before adding trigger manually, we'll just delete Gmail trigger. And now we'll add a node trigger manually and we'll connect it to get a message. Now in between, we'll add a Gmail node saying get many messages. So we'll get many messages. Here again, we have to toggle on return all to get all the messages. But then again, it will take a lot of time. So instead of returning all, we'll just right now for demo, we'll use 3. It will get past 3 messages. We'll just execute. Messenger model will take a lot of time because now instead of 1, we are using 3 messages. Now we have a problem here. There's a problem in add label to message. So the Gmail trigger doesn't exist anymore. So instead of that, we'll use get many messages and we'll select the ID, message ID from get many messages. Now we execute this step. Actually, we'll execute the workflow. Again, messenger model takes a bit of time. Then yeah, workflow executed. So now we'll check our messages. So in 9 to 5, I don't have any message. In garbage, I got 3 messages because my last 3 messages were actually spam messages. The workflow works great. And this way I'll be able to actually classify all my emails into 9 to 5 private or garbage. Instead of going to each of the past messages individually, this will be done at bulk with the help of this agent.